Hello and welcome to the Experiencing Love podcast. I'm your host, Philip Jocks, and I'm so glad that you're here. Inspiration. When it strikes, make sure to capture it and don't let it go. Last night, I felt inspired. I felt inspired to do what I needed to do. I was feeling upset with myself. I think that's accurate to say. And I was feeling upset with myself because I wasn't performing in the ways that I wanted to perform, at the level that I wanted to perform. I've known for a while now that I need to raise my standards. I need to raise the standards of my life, of my actions, to achieve the vision that I have. Chances are that if you have something in your life that you don't have yet, you simply have to raise your standards to get there. You have to raise your standards, and the thing about a standard is, it's not a goal. It's not an endpoint. A standard is a minimum. What is the minimum that you are going to do for yourself, for your life every single day? I've made it a standard in my life that I will read for 30 minutes every day no matter what. Last night, it was like 4:30 in the morning. I found myself still awake, not having read yet. And when I considered not reading that night, just reading extra the following day, I immediately stopped myself and said, I raised my standard that every day I will read, so I am going to read. And I did. And I've found since raising my standard in multiple areas of my life, that inspiration starts to flow faster and harder and stronger and better. And when it flows, I need to be there ready to take action, ready to notice what the inspiration is. I've started carrying around with me my wandering journal. It's a little pocket notebook, just in case I don't have my phone, just in case it's outside of screen time. I have some place to capture moments of inspiration. Last night, at about 4 a.m, I had one of these moments. I got so fed up with myself at my lower standards that I decided to do something about it right then, right there. Normally, I would have these moments at night where I would decide I want something different. I need to raise my standards. I need to do something different. But by the time the morning came, that drive was gone. And so I wouldn't act. So I knew last night that I had to act right then, right there to make sure that it was something that I actually followed through with. And when I did that, a lot of things happened. First of all, I started feeling fired up. I started feeling fired up for what I could create, what I could actually do for myself. I've been upset that the amount of work I've been doing has been less than what I want to do. And it's not just the amount of work, but it's also the quality of the work. I've been less productive, less efficient, less focused. I realized my problem was not so much being able to focus or not focus. I have trouble switching focus, switching from task to task. Because of this, it would mean that I could get focused for a certain amount of time, however long it takes me to finish a task or a project, but then moving on to the next one felt near impossible. Sometimes I would move to it, but I'd be so distracted, so all over the place, so overwhelmed, that I wouldn't be efficient at all. It felt like a waste of time. I'd argue it was a waste of time, except for I used that moment, all the moments I've done that, as fuel now to make this change. So instead of just looking up focus tactics, I started researching focus switching tactics. And let me tell you, today was the first day I used some of them, and it baffled me as to how efficient I was at switching between tasks. I jumped maybe 4, 5, 6 times, and no matter what, it wasn't a problem. Because when I started the next thing, I was ready for the next thing. One of the things that has helped me so much is what I've found to be called intentional task switching. It's 3 steps, starting with 3 deep breaths. I take 3 deep breaths, and then out loud, I say, I'm letting go of X and stepping into Y. I would fill in the blanks for X and Y. So for example, I would say something along the lines of, I'm letting go of focusing on finances and stepping into social media time and focusing on content creation. After I do that second step, there's a third and final step, which is to physically move, to stand, stretch, change posture, to signal a change. So every single time I switch, I would get up and I would stretch my body out. And then I would sit down refreshed, ready to step into the next thing I'm doing. Now, that's not the only thing I incorporated. I also started creating playlists for myself, very specific playlists for different focuses that I have. I'm listening to a reading soundtrack while I read, and I'm listening to violin music for hyper-focus work. And I'm sure I'm going to create more. And the purpose of that is like a Pavlov style conditioning, that when I hear that music, I get into that mode. And I'm also being very liberal with sticky notes, which is any single time I go from one task to another, whether on purpose or by accident, I will write a little note to myself on what I was working on and what the next step is. I'm calling it task bridges, which is I can temporarily go to another task and still be able to pick up where I left off because I wrote myself a little note. The longer term version of this, I'm calling my launch pad, which is at the end of every day, I pretty much write down or I take a note of what I worked on that day, what I plan to work on tomorrow, and what I want to start with. And then I schedule that in a high energy time. And using a mixture of these things, I found that focus is not so daunting anymore. It's not so overwhelming. I pretty much have about 11 sticky notes and maybe 15 note cards on my desk. Some are in piles, some are spread around. And yet, this isn't overwhelming me because I look at it all, and right now it just is filtered in my brain like noise. I don't see it. I don't really take it in. They're just pieces of paper, colorful pieces of paper with writing on them. And what I'm able to do is I'm able to systematically look at these papers, decide what I'm working on next, and only focus on that one thing. I get it done, and then I go through my intentional task switching routine. The 3 deep breaths, saying I'm letting go of X and stepping into Y, and then physically moving. I spoke about all this because maybe that's something that you need right now. Maybe you need a little support creating focus and being able to focus switch like me. But this is just an in-depth example of inspiration. I didn't let this moment slip away last night because I knew that I was inspired to change. Inspiration could be a lot of things. It could be another person. It could be a seeming coincidental experience in our life. It could be yourself making a decision. Wherever inspiration comes from, I see it as our souls talking to us, communicating with us. When we're inspired, it's usually about an idea that seems crazy, it seems wild, it seems fun, it seems interesting. And it seems like all those things because it doesn't feel like it came from our head. It feels like it came from somewhere else, somewhere deeper. It's often connected to our heart. What does our heart want us to see? What does our heart want us to experience? How does our heart want us to change? I'm very intentional about the change I'm creating in my life. The more intentional you are about it, the less resistance you have to change. Because knowing that change is a constant in our lives, I'd rather not fight it. I'd rather embrace it and enjoy it. Because there's so much to enjoy in change. Every single time we change, we grow into a bigger person. Every single time. An easy way to conceptualize you changing is asking yourself at the end of the day, am I different from the way I was this morning? Most people might say no. It's only been 12 hours. It's only been 16 hours. But you could ask the question in a different way. What do I know now that I didn't know 16 hours ago? What do I know today that I didn't know yesterday? What do I know this week that I didn't know last week? When you start asking that question, those types of questions, it makes it really easy to notice that we are different than the version of us however many hours or days ago. What that also does is it gives us proof and an example that our future self is also different from us right now. That's important because it's a really easy pattern to fall into of looking at the past, looking at your past or someone else's past, and projecting that past into the future, believing that the past equals the future. Now, honestly, that is far from true. The past does not equal the future. At best, it gives you a prediction, but we don't know what's in the future. You don't know what you're going to learn in the next hour, 12 hours, week, month, year. You know that over that course of time, there's so much potential, so much room for growth, so much room for learning. So I adopt that mindset, and I sometimes like to think that when I'm inspired, it's my future talking to the present version of me. The future version of us has everything that we want. When we start believing this and behaving that way, we truly begin to start bridging the gap from our life now to our vision in the future. And sometimes a very, very powerful and useful exercise is imagining what would your future self tell you about what you're going through right now. Think about what you're going through. Think about a challenge in your life. Think about where you aren't at the quality of life that you want to be in. And now think about your future self. Think about the future self that has what you want. How do they feel? How do they think? What's in their mind? What have they experienced? And now ask that version of you, what am I missing? What am I doing right? And what can I improve right now? It may feel a little silly doing this at first. It may be a little confusing. You may get only 1-word, 2-word answers. But the more you ask, the more likely you are to get that inspiration that you're looking for. Because sometimes it's not a direct conversation. Sometimes you ask the question and the answer takes a couple hours to pop into your mind, maybe even a couple days. And it's when that answer pops into your mind that you realize that you're inspired to do something different. It's your future you talking to your present you. Your future has all the answers. All you have to do is ask. The quality of your life is directly proportional to the questions you ask. If you want a better life quality, you have to ask better questions. Ask yourself better questions, ask other people better questions. If you want better answers in your life, you have to ask better questions. And you have complete control over the questions that you ask. If you have complete control over the questions that you ask, that means you have complete control over the quality of your life. Be inspired to ask yourself a new question. Find the inspiration in your questions and answers to upgrade your life. Choose something new. Choose something different. I talked so much about choice because in the past, I was looking for choices in all the wrong areas. I didn't have real choices in the external world, but the real power comes from the internal world, the one in our heads and our hearts, in our minds, our bodies, our spirits, our souls. We have full control over that. That dictates the quality of our life. So I was looking for choices out there when the truth is the real choice is inside. It was a blessing to learn that lesson. And because of that, I'm blessed enough to share that message, share that lesson with you. Maybe it's new, maybe it's a reminder. But whatever it is, you have control. It's up to you whether you take it or leave it. I hope you have an inspirational day. You're beautiful, you're amazing, and it's up to you what your life looks like. Remember to always fill up with the love. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. I love you.